Connecting deeply with someone requires glimpsing their inner world. But we often puzzle over perspectives utterly foreign from our own, causing painful misunderstandings. What if you could quickly decode people, no matter how perplexing their outlook first appears? That ability to empathetically understand different mentalities isn't an inborn gift. It's a skill you can develop. In this video, I'll show you how adopting Stoic practices can make you an expert at reading people. Stoicism provides timeless wisdom on comprehending humanity that perfectly translates to navigating today's divisions. We'll break down actionable steps for expanding your empathy, insight, and relationships. Imagine avoiding needless conflicts by truly grasping motivations. You can master human psychology and communication with these insightful Stoic techniques. Join me to learn the keys to deciphering people's inner landscapes. This is how to gain superhuman clarity into the minds of others. Let's use ancient wisdom to foster true understanding and connection. Number 1. Perspective taking. One important skill in learning to read people is perspective taking. This involves understanding theory of mind, the idea that other people have their own unique thoughts, feelings, experiences, and motivations that shape how they see the world. Perspective taking allows us to step into someone else's shoes and try to see a situation from their point of view. This Stoic practice helps us understand where others are coming from so we can communicate and relate to them better. For example, you can role-play various scenarios where you take on the perspective of another person with different views from your own. Really try to immerse yourself in that character's way of thinking. Consider how their background, personality, and values would shape their opinions and reactions. What would motivate them to respond the way they do? How might they view a situation differently than you? Changing perspectives is challenging, but gets easier with practice. To start, choose lower-stakes scenarios with people you know and can easily empathize with. Pay attention to their body language, tone of voice, and subtle reactions too. Those cues give you insights into their inner world. Over time, work your way up to understanding the perspectives of strangers, or even people you disagree with. The goal is to stretch beyond your own default viewpoint and recognize the multitude of diverse experiences people have. Developing empathy and walking in another's shoes allows us to break down barriers. We can find common ground and shed judgment when we truly see things from someone else's perspective. This leads to deeper human understanding and connection. So use these perspective-taking tips and exercises to become an empathetic Stoic observer of others. It's a valuable skill for improving relationships and reading people. Number 2. Active listening. Another key skill for reading people is active listening. This involves developing your abilities to listen closely to others without judgment. Active listening requires your full attention. Make eye contact, face the speaker, and try to minimize distractions when they are talking. Use encouraging body language like nodding to show you are engaged. Wait patiently for them to finish articulating their thoughts before you speak. Don't interrupt or jump to responses right away. Give them time and space to fully express themselves. As you listen, aim to understand rather than just react. Let go of your own assumptions or opinions for a moment. Instead, focus on comprehending the speaker's perspective and emotions. Pay attention to both their words and non-verbal cues. Then, reflect back what you heard in your own words. Summarizing what someone said demonstrates you have listened closely and retains clarity. It also gives them a chance to elaborate further if needed. Avoid belittling, critiquing, or dismissing anything you hear. The goal of active listening is to understand, not to debate. Withhold any judgments or opinions of your own, Simply comprehending and validating another person's viewpoint, even if you disagree, builds trust and empathy between you. It shows respect for their inner world and lived experiences. Practicing non-judgmental active listening strengthens relationships. It aligns with Stoic principles of seeing humanity in others. It is an act of empathy that allows deeper connections to form through open and compassionate dialogue. So strive to be present, pause before responding, and reflect back what you hear. These mindful listening skills will improve your understanding of other people. Number 3. Socratic Questioning. The philosopher Socrates famously used targeted questioning to gradually unravel people's underlying assumptions and logic. Adopting this Socratic method yourself can reveal how others see the world. Carefully crafted open-ended questions allow people to explain their thought process step by step. You can better understand their reasoning, values, and beliefs through this methodical probing. Start by asking follow-up questions about their initial statements to go deeper. For example, what makes you say that? How did you come to that conclusion? Could you tell me more about your thought process? Then pose questions that get to underlying premises and principles. For instance, why is that important to you? What assumption does that rely on? How does that connect with your beliefs? Listen closely to their responses, then build the next questions to incrementally get to the foundation of their worldview. Think of it as gently probing to unravel the whole chain of logic strand by strand. Avoid aggressive or rapid-fire questioning. The idea is a respectful mutual search for understanding, not an interrogation. Provide time for thoughtful responses and allow detours in the conversation. Done right, Socratic questioning flows naturally. The goal is to comprehend, not force change. Let their own words reveal their inner landscape. You don't need to challenge or correct. Simply understand. This method demonstrates the Stoic emphasis on reason and examination, and it is a form of empathy, seeking to understand how others developed their unique perspectives. So, adopt a spirit of humble inquiry. Use thoughtful Socratic questioning to illuminate the thought patterns of others, revealing the fascinating diversity in how people see the world. Number 4. Cultural fluency. Gaining literacy in different cultures and worldviews provides crucial context for understanding diverse perspectives. The more exposure you have to various values and ways of life, the easier it becomes to step into another person's shoes. Seek out opportunities to learn about other cultures. Read books, watch documentaries, listen to podcasts, and take courses on world cultures, religions, and philosophies. Becoming fluent in the range of human experience gives you insight. Travel also provides invaluable in-person cultural immersion. Interact respectfully with local people. Observe how daily life reflects cultural values and historical context. Allow yourself to be open to perspectives very different from your own. Even within your own community, look for chances to engage with other cultures. Attend cultural events, visit ethnic neighborhoods, and strike up conversations with immigrants. Get to know their stories. Consider alternative worldviews different from the mainstream too. Learn about activists, artists, indigenous people. Understanding subculture values also expands your empathy. Practicing cultural openness takes regular effort, as our default is toward ethnocentrism. But the Stoic disciplines of cosmopolitanism, anti-tribalism, and common humanity call us to push beyond ingrained barriers. Immerse yourself in the mosaic of human cultures. Return to your own perspective wiser, with more nuanced cross-cultural empathy and an expanded mindset. You will better understand the multitude of valid ways people see life when you open your world. Number 5. Critical thinking. Sharpening your critical thinking skills allows you to logically evaluate other people's arguments and detect flaws in their reasoning. This provides insights into how they think. Approach arguments with an open yet skeptical mindset. Rather than accepting something at face value, carefully examine the premises and logic being used. Watch for common fallacies like false assumptions, selective evidence, overgeneralizations, and false analogies. Use reason to identify gaps and inconsistencies. Also look for underlying biases and agendas that may influence someone's position. This could include cognitive biases as well as social, cultural, or political worldviews shaping their perspective. Evaluate the factual accuracy of claims being made too. Look for scientific consensus and credible sources when applicable, rather than relying on anecdotes or hearsay. Challenging your own assumptions through critical analysis strengthens your thinking. Then apply those same rigor and rationality when assessing outside arguments. The goal is not to dismiss other views, but to understand the foundations they are built upon. How did this person arrive at their reasoning? Does it align with truth and logic? Where might flaws or falsehoods have led them astray? As a Stoic, you aim for wisdom over being right anyway. Catalogue others' mistakes. So use critical thinking to comprehend, not attack. It develops understanding and clears a path to finding common ground. Sharpening your ability to critically analyze arguments gives you clearer insight into how people reason and the strengths or weaknesses of their logic. Use this tool judiciously in your quest to understand perspectives. Number 6. Ethics and morality. Studying moral philosophy and psychology helps reveal the underlying motivations behind people's perspectives. Our values and beliefs about right versus wrong deeply shape our worldviews. Learn about developmental ethics, how moral reasoning progresses from childhood to adulthood. Understand cultural values differences as well as universal moral foundations. Explore major ethical frameworks like utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Recognize how these schools of thought would evaluate real-world dilemmas and drive different conclusions. Examine how lived experiences, family influences, societal conditioning, and even genetics shape moral intuitions and values. Be aware how your own unique mix of factors informed your values. Consider moral outliers too. Amoral personalities like narcissists, along with contingencies that can warp ethical thinking like authority, tribalism, and loyalty. Understand how context alters values. Aim to comprehend, not judge, when examining other moral frameworks. Recognize that reasonable people can disagree on ethics. There are nuances beyond universal basics. A multi-layered grasp of morality provides insight into the inner drivers behind people's stances. You discern their motivations through the lens of values. It brings empathy for those operating in different moral universes. This aligns with the Stoic view of shared human nature, though expressions differ. Comprehending moral psychology builds bridges between perspectives, allowing you to read people more profoundly. Number 7. Self-awareness. To read people accurately, you must first know yourself. Self-awareness allows you to distinguish your own biases, tendencies, and default perspectives from those of someone else. Introspective practices like meditation, journaling, and self-inquiry help you identify the lenses through which you view the world. What conscious and unconscious biases shape your thinking? Discussing blind spots with trusted friends can provide an outside perspective on your default frames of reference. Be open to feedback about habits or positions you may not recognize. Work to understand how your upbringing, culture, education, social circle, and life experiences ingrain certain patterns of thought and behavior. Recognize these as subjective influences, not absolute truth. As a Stoic, You aim to separate externals beyond your control from your reasoned moral core. Check yourself when emotional reactions or knee-jerk assumptions cloud clear judgment of others. Knowing your own inner landscape prevents projecting your stuff onto people. You avoid mirroring your filtering biases onto those with different perspectives. Instead, you can examine others with more objectivity, leaving your baggage behind. Self-knowledge helps receive new perspectives with fresh eyes, without distortion. Make continual self-reflection a practice. The more you understand the lineage of your own perspectives, the easier it becomes to distinguish them from those of others. Know yourself deeply through constant introspection. This Stoic self-awareness allows you to truly comprehend how others see the world. Number 8. Nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication, NVC, provides useful techniques for both expressing yourself compassionately and reading the underlying needs of others. This fosters mutual understanding. Developed by psychologist Marshall Rosenberg, NVC trains you to communicate in a way that leads with empathy. The goal is compassionate connection, not coercion. To express yourself non-violently, clearly articulate your feelings and unmet needs without blaming others. Take responsibility for your emotions using I statements. For example, I feel worried because I need more security in this plan. When listening to others, focus on comprehending rather than reacting. Use empathy to translate what they say into the feelings and needs behind their message. Reflect these back to show you understand. Approaching discussions with radical empathy diffuses conflict. You build rapport by validating each other's inner experiences. This allows you to find solutions oriented around mutual understanding rather than compromising values. NVC aligns with Stoic ideals of pursuing inner tranquility through reason. It provides tools to non-judgmentally understand different perspectives, bridging communication divides between people. So practice framing your truth compassionately and learn to read between the lines when others speak from anger or frustration. The needs beneath can unite you. With mindful, empathetic communication, you transform conversations from battles to opportunities for growth. This builds the Stoic skills to genuinely know people. Number 9. Philosophy of mind. Diving into philosophy of mind develops your ability to comprehend subjective experience, the inner landscape of sensations, thoughts, and awareness unique to each person. This provides crucial insight into how others perceive reality. Explore philosophical theories like dualism, materialism, and idealism that offer different models of the mind and consciousness. Consider strengths and weaknesses of competing viewpoints. Reflect on the nature of your own awareness. What is it like to be you? How do your senses, memories, emotions, and reasoning create your inner world? Recognize both the universal and wildly diverse nature of conscious experience. Read Phenomenology, centered on subjective experience. Contemplate what it feels like from within to inhabit other minds, moving beyond behaviorism's clinical outsider view. Question your assumption that others experience the world as you do. Develop conceptual tools to get underneath surface interactions and really grasp the sensations, meanings, and reactions alive within another. While we can never fully know another's consciousness directly, philosophical investigation provides metaphors, thought experiments, and deductive tools to comprehend inner landscapes. In true Stoic fashion, turn philosophy inward to know yourself, gaining wisdom and empathy. Expanding your conception of subjective experience lets you read reality from infinite other points of view. Number 10. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics provides philosophical techniques for interpreting the meaning behind texts and language use. Mastering these skills helps decipher what people intend to convey. Approach texts with an open mindset, putting your own assumptions aside. Examine context clues, the circumstances, culture, and history surrounding the text that shape its meaning. Look for repetition of words and themes, as well as metaphors that create a coherent worldview. Analyze the author's background and possible motivations. Contrast with your own different frame of reference. In conversation, listen closely to language choice, emotional tone, and cultural connotations. For instance, certain phrases may carry social associations or sarcasm not apparent on the surface. Consider gaps and omissions also. What is left unsaid? Silences can speak volumes. Combine the spoken with body language cues for a fuller picture. Hermeneutic skills help move beyond literal interpretation to uncover deeper, layered significance. You understand the meaning being expressed, not just stated. This aligns with Stoic principles of intellectual humility and recognizing the limits of perception. There are always multiple ways to interpret language and knowledge, so develop your hermeneutic abilities. Carefully considering context and connotation lets you profoundly comprehend meaning. This illuminates not just what people say, but what messages they intend to convey about their inner world. Number 11. Phenomenology. Phenomenology is a philosophical approach for investigating subjective human experience and consciousness. Developing a phenomenological lens helps reveal people's inner worlds. This school of thought seeks to understand phenomena as they present themselves to awareness. It studies the felt qualities of lived experience, from sensory input to emotions and meaning-making. Phenomenologists practice careful description of experiences like grief, joy, anger, or belonging. They examine how phenomena are constituted in consciousness, the relationship between the experiencer and the experience. You can adopt a phenomenological attitude in everyday life. Observe your own emotions and sensory perceptions. Then imaginatively apply this to others, illuminating their inner contours. For instance, the phenomenon of seeing a painting. How do colors appear in awareness? What interpretations and associations give it meaning? This inquiry helps comprehend others' perspectives. Phenomenology complements Stoicism's introspective orientation. It provides conceptual tools to grasp the flow of sensations, judgments, and significance that comprise each person's subjective reality. Studying your own lived experience helps uncover the structures of consciousness itself. This cultivation of radical empathy lets you penetrate subtle dimensions of how others perceive the world. Number 12. Anthropology and Sociology. The fields of anthropology and sociology offer crucial cultural lenses to explain human differences in beliefs and behaviors. Studying these disciplines enhances perspective-taking. Anthropologists immerse themselves in societies worldwide to uncover how cultures shape worldviews and customs. Recognize how your own norms are just one variation. Sociologists examine how social contexts like families, institutions, economic class, race, and gender socialization inform perspectives. Consider how your identity influences your views. Learn about cultural practices like rites of passage, religious rituals, and social etiquette rules that people deeply value. Appreciate how respecting traditions conveys understanding. Consider sources of conflict around cultural identity and practices. Empathize with those defending meaningful customs that external authorities degrade or prohibit. While our common humanity threads between all groups, social contexts explain the rich diversity in how human nature manifests. There are endless valid ways of being. Keep widening your anthropology and sociology literacy. The cross-cultural insight allows you to bridge differences and find shared meaning with people from all walks of life. Understanding the cultural forces that shape beliefs, values, and actions allows you to read varied social perspectives. You comprehend people in the rich context of their surroundings. Practicing these Stoic skills for reading people takes effort, but will deepen your connections and communication. Remember to always lead with empathy. Set aside judgment and be open to perspectives far from your own. We all have reasons for our beliefs that make sense from our experience. By walking in another's shoes, you may find you're not so far apart after all. We're fellow travelers, united in our humanity. Keep expanding your mindset. The more worldviews you can comprehend, the more wisdom you will uncover. Our diversity is something to celebrate. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more content soon. I appreciate you joining me on the path to deeper understanding.